Hello and welcome to the Dyno Six Pack Dynasty Football Podcast. I'm your host JJ, and I am joined by our site creator here, Joe Bond. Joe, how you doing today, man?
Good, man. Glad to be here. I know it's been a long time coming, so happy to jump on.
I mean, no better time than now, like right around the trade deadline. I mean, if you're in a dynasty league, like 90% of leagues I play in either have the trade deadline at the end of the Monday night game tonight or at the end of the Monday night game next week. So now is just kind of the perfect time. It seems like trades are starting to pop off in all the leagues that I run. Today, we're going to go over 16 of them that have gone down in the last 2 weeks, kind of put ourselves in different scenarios and pick which side we'd like, grade some trades. And well, I mean, we got quite a bit of it. So I said, let's just hop right into it. Before we get doing that though, make sure you head over to fantasy6pack.net/plans, become an all access member over there. On top of all the free content you get like through the YouTube channel, you're going to get access to like our rankings, our DFS projections. You really get custom advice in our Discord forum where you can pop in there and get advice that's a little bit more tailored to your exact scoring settings for your league. So it's not just kind of the one size fits all advice. Really, it's a good time. I mean, it's just constantly questions going on, especially this time of year with the playoffs right around the corner. So yeah, fantasy6pack.net/plans, and then come hang out with us over there in Discord.
Yeah. By the way, use promo code FFPlayoffs for 25%.
Okay, good to know.
Through the rest of the season. I want to get you guys through the playoffs and get those championship belts. That money.
Absolutely. And so that was, you said FF Playoffs?
Yep.
FF Playoffs. Make sure you guys head over there, use that code, and come hang out with us for the rest of the year. All right, so we'll start off here with the segment we're going to call Catching Pukachu. So Puka Nacua, man, there has not been – I can't think of anybody that's been more polarizing this year, from the way he's came out to kind of how he's cooled down a little bit and then kind of steadied back out once Cooper Kupp came back. So we have a trade kind of on both sides of the line here. We have one trade where we're kind of tearing up from Puka Nacua, and another one where we're kind of moving off of him. So kind of intrigued to see where you come in on this one. So the first one we have is going to be Puka Nacua, Cole Kmet, and Brandon Cooks. It's getting swapped out for Chris Olave straight up. Which side you got on this one?
In Dynasty, I want the Olave side. I know Puka kind of came off, started his career like gangbusters. As you mentioned, he's slowed down a lot. This last week was just maddening, man. Like, you're watching the Rams just go off. Stafford throws 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Nothing to
Higbee, baby,
who was clearly a decoy. Puka, you thought if Kupp was going to be a decoy, Puka was going to go off. Did nothing. Tutu caught a couple, caught a deep bomb early on, which kind of padded his stats, but ultimately nothing. Higbee, Kyron Williams did all the damage. It was just like, man, just beating my head against the wall, man. But I mean, this is Olave. You've got to look. We see it, right? God, if he hadn't gone out in the third quarter this past week, he was already at 7 for 114. This dude's a baller. He needs to. You have to imagine the Saints are going to hopefully address quarterback and get somebody in there who can kind of sling the ball around a little bit more than Derek Carr. I mean, I think we've seen what Derek Carr can do. He's okay. He's not leading any team to the promised land. It's just not going to happen. Right. So, Kmet is fine if you're like desperate for tight end. Boom bust kind of guy, in my opinion.
He's kind of in that like tight end's kind of in like that tight end 2 back and tight end 1 where they're all kind of the same. Yeah.
You look at tight end and you're like, I can live with him. But exactly. You can live with him, right? Like, okay. Brandon Cooks getting to the end of his career, in my opinion. We've seen some flashes of him when Dallas goes off. Brandon Cooks is sort of in the mix, but overall, like, meh. So yeah, give me Olave, who's still a young, very, very talented receiver, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I'll take the Olave side. I was not involved in this trade, but one of my buddies that was kind of asked me what I thought about this. And my general advice was like, for me personally, I'll take the sure thing in Olave. And I understand that Puka's had statistically one of the greatest rookie seasons ever. And if that continues, that's just a risk I'm willing to take because I'll take the sure thing in Olave. I don't quite buy it all the way to the level he's at. So I'm in agreement with you there. We'll take the Olave side. Real quick, Jamie, what's up, man? Football Sunday was pretty good. This was a down week for me, fantasy-wise. I had one over 20 leagues the last 2 weeks, and then this week I'm looking like I'm going to go about 15-11. So a little bit of a down week this week compared to what I had.
Yeah, I didn't fare quite as well. I think I'm going to finish about 500. I think. I don't know. I had to go back and look at all of them. I sort of looked last night and was like, all right, I'm not too thrilled. But I had literally like 4 weeks in a row where I lost like one matchup out of all like 10 of my leagues. So like that was a pretty sweet stretch. So it's kind of kind of regression back to the mean, right? It's kind of happening. The really one that's just kicking me in the nuts, dude, is our Fantrax Trophy League.
Oh, dude,
I have the most points scored, man, and I am going to miss the playoffs.
And I am now going to be in sole possession of first place in that league with 2 weeks left in the regular season after.
And I have you beat by like 200 points, by the way, which is insane.
It's about when you score them.
I'm literally, I have the most points scored and the most points scored against me. I always seem to play the team who scores like 160 points. And I know people are like, oh, you're just complaining. Like, no, I will show you the receipts. Yeah. It's happening.
Anymore, man. I like anymore like the median scoring leagues. Like have that one extra win.
I also am kicking myself because every single league I run, I enact the rule where the sixth team into the playoffs is the team who has the most points remaining outside of the top five.
That makes
sense. The top five is my record. I forgot to do it for this one. And it would have benefited me draft. Now, my team's probably toast. Lamar, the Ravens are just like, oh, we're just going to run. And Lamar's not part of it. So Lamar's my quarterback. So kind of toast there. Amari Cooper is going to be nothing. He was like my wide receiver 2 or 3. So like, team's probably toast anyway. It just sucks to have like as many points as I've had. Like I shouldn't have even had to worry about it. I should have, I lost one matchup by like 0.4 off of a stat correction.
Yeah, the Jordan Addison stat correction a couple weeks ago. I remember that.
Yeah, he lost the 1 yard on the catch, man. So yeah, it wasn't a great week, but hey, I did make what $50-something on DFS, more than doubled my money. Thanks to Dave Eddy and the crew there and our DFS Discord channel there. So another reason why you should pay for a membership, because you get access to that.
Absolutely.
My membership would have paid for itself in 1 week easily. Yeah, Jamie, it is a great rule. It really gets it. Look, I get that luck is part of fantasy football, baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever it is that you play. I get that luck part of it. Record should be what it is, right? But to see a team like mine just get absolutely obliterated in the opponent scored category, but I'm dominating in points scored and not make the playoffs, that's crazy. I've lost 3 in a row to teams that have scored like 150 plus points every single week on me. Like, what am I supposed to do, man? I'm putting up $130, $140 every week, and I can't win.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Russell Wilson saved my season. Not something I thought I would be saying there after I lost Anthony Richardson, but scooped him up, and he's just been like consistent, like 18 points.
Yeah, that's one of my other teams that's probably going to go in the opposite direction. I lost Joe Burrow. I started out 0-4 in one league, reeled off 6 straight, but lost Joe Burrow, and I've got Russ, and so he was fine this week, but I think that's just going to be icing on the cake where it's like, all right, I made my run. I might actually sneak into the playoffs, but I don't think I really have much of a chance. Lost that massive upside with him.
Jay, we might have to come back to this one because I know Joe and I have kind of talked about this one on Twitter a little bit on the max.
I think so for what I'm doing, it's points scored, not max.
That's how it should.
So you have to be able to set your lineups in this. No, we've got other conversations with how to decide dynasty draft order. That's a whole nother conversation, probably a whole nother show that we could have.
Only thing I will say on this max point scored, I'm not a fan of it. Like, I understand like they do it to try and stop the outright tanking, but I feel like it has a little bit of a negative effect on like the middle teams that are trying. Because then, okay, you lost this game, and then because you had some random dude on your bench that went for 60 points, now you're gonna get a worse draft pick too because you should have known to put in this.
The problem is though, and I'm telling you, man, I'm in a league. I'm only in one dynasty league. I used to be in 2. I'm only in 1. We legit had people benching their studs on purpose. You were like, dude, there is no, like I had a guy try to convince me, and I forget the actual lineup decision. He tried to tell me he wanted to play the 4th receiver for like the for like the Lions one. This was like 3 years ago when the Lions were garbage. Because he had like 2 decent weeks in a row, but he benched like his second best receiver for him. And I'm like, no. He's like, oh, but this guy's been good. And I'm like, no, get out of here. He's like, you can't tell me how to set my lineup. So I was like, oh, okay, we're figuring out a way around this. And so we did.
Yeah.
Like you can't, like you just can't, like what you're gonna reward somebody for benching Christian McCaffrey just because their team is average and they're tanking. That's to me, that's not cool. No NFL team would bench Christian McCaffrey because they're trying to get the number 1 seed. Like the NFL would then start stepping in and being like, no.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just like, if you pay your debt, if you pay your dues, man, and you want to put yourself in a better spot for the future, I'm all for it. But I mean, that's like you said, that's a whole other show. We could probably hit down the offseason, like all sorts of different variations of scoring formats, like different ways to decide tiebreakers. We might have to like write that down and come back to it. But getting back to our trades here, back to Pukachu here. We got one more Puka trade we want to go over here. And so this one, he went for a straight up for a 2024 first that projects to be kind of somewhere in that 6 to 10 range. You want the Puka side, or you taking that spot to get into this next year's draft class?
Oh man, it's the 6 to 10. Now, are these all super flex?
Every trade here that's referenced, except for every single trade on this one. Yeah, 12 team super flex, PPR, tight end premium. So
now you're not going to get one of those top quarterbacks with the 6 to 10 range.
No,
you're still going to get a good player in this draft in the 6 to 10 range. I kind of think I want the first round pick with this one.
I'm with you.
There's some dudes coming out this year, man. And look, again, same thing as last time. Puka was great early on. He didn't come out of college with like this massive fanfare for a reason. He's going to be a fine NFL player. But I kind of feel like he's just going to turn into a guy.
We've seen his ceiling. Like he's never going to be able to repeat his first week when he came out. Yeah, so I'm with you there. I think this is a pretty easy one, actually. I'll take the first pick, even if you're talking like 8 to 12 range. I think at that point I'm still probably going to go get that.
Yeah, especially in Superflex, you're going to get some guys that are going to fall. That's going to be nice. There's going to be a ton of quarterbacks to go early in Superflex.
Right, you may miss out on your Caleb Williams and your Drake Mays, but there's a lot of other quarterbacks behind them. Got McCarthy, Bo Nix is kind of coming out of nowhere. Michael Penix. I mean, there's Jaden Daniels. There's a lot of good quarterbacks coming out this next year. Plus,
Penix is one of my favorite. Who's a little under the radar, man. I think he's going to surprise some people.
I'm with you there. So yeah, I'm with you. I think even late first, I'm gonna try and get back into next year's draft class if I can cash out on Puka for that. Next segment we got here, we are getting Swifty. DeAndre Swift. I'm a little bit surprised to see him trade as much teams as I've seen lately. I think he's gotten traded in like 5 or 6 of my leagues in the last 2 weeks, which I don't really get because he has a pretty good role in a good offense. But the first trade was DeAndre Swift going straight up for Treylon Burks, a 2025 second, a 2026 second, and a 2024 third. For this exercise, let's just assume that none of these leagues are going to fold, so we don't need to worry about you don't even know if the league's going to be there in 2026. Let's assume the league is going to be here and still going. So with that being said, which side you got
here? Burks doesn't move the needle for me at all. Those picks, I mean, a 2024 third, probably not super valuable. The second round picks might be, but I mean, they're dart throws. I'd be interested to see like what this dude's team who has Swift looks like. Clearly, like I don't disagree with getting rid of Swift kind of at a bit of a high value, high point in his value, in my opinion, for what he's been doing. Now he is RB. If I go to like half PPR, I know most of these leagues are 8 or 9, PPR. Right? These are all PPR. Sorry, so let me switch to PPR here. So if I do PPR, he is RB 8 on the year, still only averaging 14.5 a game. This is arguably his best season ever. He'll finish.
I don't think that's arguably. Yeah.
I mean, he should finish with his best season. If he can continue this trend the rest of the way. Now, I mean, his 2021 with Detroit was pretty nice with 208 PPR points, but he should surpass that. He's got to find the end zone a couple more times, I think, to help surpass that too. But I mean, he's only 24, so I will give him that.
He's young, yeah.
He's young, and he doesn't have a ton of tread on the tires. You know,
he's kind of like Aaron Jones at like this point in his career, where he was kind of brought on a little bit slowly and a little bit older, but still some tread left on the tires. I feel like Swift's kind of in a similar spot.
I've said this before with him and just this Eagles backfield. It's so now this year they just seem to be leaning on him when he's healthy. But you never know, right? Like with him, right? It's just like we're with the Eagles. They just like to bring in people. I mean, although kind of one of the craziest things this year, right, is all the Rashad Penny is just not being used, which is just I really still do not understand that one. I don't know why you even signed to this guy if you're not going to use him at all. If the guy's if you're truly tanking or not tanking, if you're truly just complete rebuild, you tear it down, Swift's like the only good thing you got, I'm fine with it.
See, I don't know. For me, I'm going to
keep middle of the road, though. I think you keep Swift because he could help you. I think
so too.
Yeah. If you're like bottom of the barrel and you just kind of needed a clean house, I'm fine with it.
I don't know, man. I feel like if I'm in that position where I am kind of looking to rebuild or retool a little bit for Swift, I like two things I would do to try and get this trade down. Right? As it sits right now, I wouldn't take it. I would either want to upgrade the Treylon Burks to a little bit better of a piece or get rid of those seconds and give me a 2025 or 2026 first. Push it down the road a little bit, keep your seconds, or let me upgrade that play. Because as it stands right now, like there's just not any one piece that I ever see really returning the value that Swift has right now, unless you nail those second round picks. But that's a little bit of a crapshoot. So that would be kind of what I'd be looking. I'd want to upgrade the Burke side or get rid of some of those picks and get a first rounder down the road. I don't mind buying first down the road. It seems like you get like a huge discount on those. It seems like when you move into the second and the third, there's not as big of a discount versus like the 2024 versus 25 and 26. But for some reason, those 2024 firsts are like valued twice as much as 25 and 26. So one of the things I love to do when I'm rebuilding is I'll go start getting first 2-3 years down the road. So a lot of people, they see 2025 and they're like, oh, that's 2 years down. You kind of got to get out of that thought. Like this next draft is 2024. So that 2025 pick is 1 year away after this next draft. So go out and get those 25 and 26 first over the even like a 2024 second. I'll take a 2026 first all day over that one. Next Swift trade we had here, and we have a little bit of an IDP on this one. I guess I didn't even ask if you were good with that one, but it was Swift and Njoku.
I'm not an IDP dude, but I do know who Trayvon Walker is at least.
It's a pretty big name, so yeah. So we got Swift and Njoku getting switch side, and this was before he got knocked out for the year. But Deshaun Watson, Jaden Reed, and Trayvon Walker, who in this scoring setting is averaging like just a little over 10 points per game.
Swift and Njoku for Watson, Reed.
It's a good one.
I know it's super flex, man, but I don't know, man. I just feel like I want nothing to do with Watson.
I actually can't agree with you there. That's like the person that made this trade like messaged me after and was like, oh, what do you think? And all I said was like, you are braver than I am. Like I get why you did it, but I just don't think I could give up anything for Watson. And like granted, Njoku's, he's kind of in that glut of tight ends that are kind of just a guy. DeAndre Swift's a running back, so you could be cashing out. Jaden Reed looks awesome, but it's just Watson is scary, and that's kind of like the main piece that you're centering this deal around, and that's makes me nervous with that shoulder, man.
It's not just that. It's just like even when he's been in there, he hasn't been that great. He's not the Watson of old. I mean, we gotta stop believing that.
Yeah, I agree. So this one's pretty easy. Then I think we're both keeping the Swift side then on this one.
I think so.
Yeah, same here. We'll move on to the next one here. Next segment we are swapping some stars. These are blockbuster trades that we had at least one superstar big name switching sides on each side here. So first one that we're going to go over is Stephon Diggs and Chuba Hubbard for Brandon Ayuk and Kendre Miller. Which side you got here?
Ooh. So this one's interesting. So short term, I like Diggs and Hubbard. Long term, I like Ayuk and Miller.
Yep. I feel like Ayuk and Diggs like when we fast forward past the Super Bowl and we're looking at dynasty ranks for next year, I think that they're going to be within 5 spots of each other. So it's basically, what do you like more? Do you like Chuba long term or Kendre? Which, I mean, Kendre obviously a little bit of a lost year coming in injured, hasn't really put it together. A little bit to be expected after the start, but Chuba, he's pretty much in a true timeshare. I've been getting about half the work the last few weeks. He's the guy that's getting the passing down work and got in the end zone last week. So I can kind of see the argument if you're a long-term believer in Chuba, but just now with that Panthers organization, the way that they're looking, firing their coach this morning, I think it could get real messy there.
I don't think the Panthers think that Chuba Hubbard is a long-term solution.
Mm-hmm.
I think they brought in Miles Sanders thinking he was the solution, maybe not super long-term, but they didn't bring in Sanders because they believed in Hubbard. They brought in Sanders because they thought Hubbard wasn't that great, and then Sanders was worse somehow, and it's just like, okay.
Okay.
Like the thing with Miller too is, you know, like I know, Kamara is still there, but they've got a pretty good potential out in his contract this coming season. So they could potentially move on from Kamara to save some cap space, bring in some extra, players elsewhere. And I mean, I think there's a lot of people in the dynasty community who really liked Kendre Miller. I was one of them. You were one of them.
I still like him.
So I still think, let him get over this year where he's just been bogged down by injuries, and hopefully, he kind of came in with that like injury, you just
sprained knee or
kind of worry with that potentially. So, maybe it just kind of carries over and just kind of kills his career. But I think we have to hope that doesn't happen. And again, if you're looking more long-term, I like that deal.
Yep. I like the Brandon Ayuk side there too as well. Just the Kendre Miller side, I could be wrong. I think that he's going to have a nice year next year. I think that he'll kind of step into that secondary role, whether that's behind Kamara or if they, like you said, if they get that out in the contract, and then at that point it's full steam ahead for Miller. Next trade here in this little grouping here, and this is the first trade of the day that I was actually involved in. I won't tell you which side until after, but we got Breece Hall, Anthony Richardson, and a 2024 first, swapping sides for Justin Fields, Isaiah Pacheco, and Cortland Sutton. Set the scene here. Both of these teams are playoff teams, so they're both going to be in the mix for it this year, if that changes it at all.
Both in the mix for this year. Because I was going to say whoever's getting to the Hall of Richardson in 2024 first side is setting themselves up pretty nicely for future seasons. Fields, I'm still kind of on the fence about whether or not he's got long-term value in this league. Pacheco is, he's a hard runner.
Is it got
Kansas
a good role
City,
right now too?
He's on a bit of a roll. I don't know if he's got super long-term value either. Sutton's looking pretty nice, especially lately. Like I brought up a stat this past Sunday before I logged off the Sunday show that, at least before the week, he was tied for like 6th or 7th in red zone targets with like, I don't forget how many it is now, but he also leads the league in red zone touchdowns by a huge margin. I mean, he's got 8. Like all of his touchdowns come in the red zone. So, that's just the unfortunate part is if he doesn't catch a touchdown right now, he's providing you no value. So, that's keeping his, ranking down to like
that was last night. He dropped the ball in the end zone. Yeah.
Right. It keeps his value down, because that risk is baked in. But I still, Sutton, how old is Sutton? Like, he's not that
27, 28. He's not 30 yet, I don't believe.
He is 28.
28, okay.
So, yeah, I mean, he's still got at least a couple of years of production left in him. It's really a matter of him being tied to Russell Wilson. And yeah, we know Russell Wilson has kind of had a bit of a resurgence this year and has really come on strong these last couple of weeks. So maybe that's a good sign for him. I know if this team really is a playoff contender, I know getting Anthony Richardson really doesn't help you this year, or doesn't help you this year at all. But I like that side for the trade way better.
Yeah, so that is the side of the trade I came out on this one. I got the Hall Richardson side, and so as it sits right now, I'm going to be, I think, 4th in the league. So I clinched a playoff spot. My other 2 quarterbacks, like, part of this was trading from a strength. I still have Dak and Lamar there. So at this point, I was kind of like, I kind of want to upgrade my RB2 spot. Once he said Breece Hall was available for Pacheco a little bit more, I was like, okay, let's check this out. And then the first rounder that I got back is my own first in this draft. So if it doesn't work out, at least I have my first rounder back. So the way I kind of thought about it was like, all right, I'm swapping out Fields for Richardson in the first, and then Pacheco and Sutton for Breece Hall. And that's kind of how I justified it in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is that you probably hurt your chances this year doing it. Breece Hall's losing value with the quarterback situation in New York. As much as Zach Wilson wasn't it, he's
Tim Boyle is not.
He's better than Boyle. Like, I'm sorry. Look, maybe you get lucky and Aaron Rodgers actually comes back and is worth a damn.
We'll see, man.
Like, they're saying week 16. I mean, you got to get there first, right? So, and obviously Richardson doesn't do any good. But then, getting a first for, basically, in my opinion, in Dynasty, you've upgraded from Fields to Richardson. You've upgraded from Pacheco to Hall. And then you swapped Sutton for a first. Yeah, you won.
Yeah, it was perfect.
In Dynasty, you did. This year, maybe not.
Yeah, what happened for the team that took the other side, they have gone through like 2.5 years of like the full tear it down to the studs, trade everyone for draft picks, rebuild, and right now they're sitting on that last playoff spot, and so they're trying to get in. They're tired of building. Yeah, they're ready to compete. So,
that's where I'm getting one of my teams. I'm going to get Marvin Harrison this year because I'm not in the super flex, so I'll have the 1-1.
Oh yeah,
I got Bijan this year. I'm going to get Marvin Harrison next year. I need to make that run. I need to start going because I'm tired of it. I've got Lawrence and Fields, and it's not even super flex. I need to start.
Oh yeah, you've told me about this league. Yeah.
I definitely tore it down. I traded DeAndre Hopkins last year. I traded Mike Williams a couple years ago after he went off for like 4 straight games early on in the season. And it was like, peace, because I've been tired of him forever. He just has not lived up to expectations. Yeah. The crappy thing is I've missed on a bunch of my draft picks. So like I took like Michael Carter and Elijah Moore from the Jets 2 years ago. Yeah. And then they turn around and take Breece Hall and then Garrett Wilson and decide to not use the 2 guys that I drafted. And I'm like, damn, that sets you back, man. Like when you miss on your draft picks like that, it really sets you back. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next segment we got here. I couldn't really come up with a good catchy headline, so we got something Taylor Swift. These are Travis Kelce trades. So what we got here, I was like, there's a joke here somewhere, but I can't figure it out. But so something Taylor Swift. So first trade here, we got Travis Kelce and James Conner, who I have found out I am like the resident hater of James Conner on the Sunday Social crew for some reason. We're swapping him out for a Brandon Ayuk, Kyle Pitts, and Kyron Williams. And this was before the game yesterday, so obviously this could swing it a little bit more with the recency bias, but which side do you like better on this one?
My guess, right? And so I know I keep doing this with these trades, unfortunately. I mean, but that's how you got to look at dynasty trades, right? Is kind of what each team is trying to do. So my guess would be the team getting Kelce and Connor is all in this year. Yeah. Look, go for the championship. I've always said, can't take away championship belts. Can't take away rings. If that's going to get you over the hump, I love that trade. If it doesn't, you've lost Ayuk, who I think we all like. You're on mute. Kyron Williams, I think the jury's still out on him. He's had a hell of a season. He was abysmal last year in his short stint, right? And he didn't come out of Notre Dame, being like a top prospect. He went into Notre Dame as a top prospect, but he didn't come out of there as one. Kyle Pitts, man, I'm done with this guy. Until they get rid of Arthur Smith, and upgrade the quarterback from Desmond Ridder, I can't do it with Kyle Pitts anymore. So I'm totally fine getting rid of Kyle Pitts. So that's how you kind of look at it. I think this is a win-win for both sides.
Yeah. In a vacuum, I'll take the Ayuk Pitts Williams side, just because I feel like in terms of dynasty value, Kelce and Ayuk aren't that far off, and then you're looking at Connor for Pitts and Kyron Williams, and I'm not even a big Kyron guy. In fact, I basically said to bench him in like one of the start sit questions yesterday before he had a monster freaking game. I mean, the guy had like Saquon, Derrick Henry, Kamara, like JT. He had like a bunch of good options out of them.
Yeah,
so it wasn't like
you don't expect 170 yards coming off an injury.
Yeah, like I didn't tell him bench him for Michael Carter or something like that. It was good options, but yeah, I'll take the Ayuk side on this one here.
Oh, shade with the Michael Carter, man.
You had him in my mind, man. I'm a North Carolina guy, so I had high expectations for him too.
I loved him, man. He can't be like, I'm wearing the Hokie gear, man. I watched this guy, him and Javonte both just murdered people in the ACC, man. I thought he was going to come in and, he's a little more, under the radar because Javonte got all the fanfare, but I thought Michael Carter was equally as good.
I did too.
He's just not getting his opportunity for whatever reason. Maybe
they were both so good in college that like the fact that they graduated, people thought Sam Howell wasn't good because of how much the offense changed losing both.
I know. I had friend, dude, because I'm a Commanders fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had friends that when we drafted Howell in the 5th round, like, oh, this is a terrible pick, blah blah blah. I'm like, 5th round for a guy who came into the season as a Heisman candidate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the team was terrible, but if you look at his stats, he wasn't that bad. It wasn't his fault. I think this guy's still good. Look, he's not going to be. Look, he's not going to be. He's not going to be Pat Mahomes. But he has shown that he can get
outscoring them this year, though. Like
the one thing that Sam Howell needs to do is learn. He's got to get a better internal clock, just a little bit. That's going to help to get a better offensive line. I think that's something the Commanders will absolutely address in this offseason and in the draft. That's going to help him 100%. But he still every once in a while just like, you're like, dude, throw the ball away. Just what are you doing?
Another thing I feel like it kind of goes with that internal clock is that he got to protect himself, man. That guy is like trying to truck stick people every single time he runs the ball. Like he has like no care for his body. I'm like, dude, you got to learn to slide, man. Like don't turn into Anthony Richardson. Get down. Don't break that shoulder this year, man.
But no, he's a talent. He's got talent, man.
He's the future for you guys.
I think he has already surprised people. And I was saying it before the season, like, you want to take a dart throw on a quarterback late in the draft, like super late in the draft, especially super flex. He was my dude. I just missed on him everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't expect him coming out and being like a top 5 fantasy option. I thought he'd kind of be like a good solid QB too, but
me too. But that was better than where he was getting drafted. He was getting drafted like QB3,
if he was even getting drafted at all. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Here next, Travis Kelce trade here. We got him going for a mid 2024 first and Rashee Rice. Which side do you like here?
I want that first and Rice side, man. Rice is really. I think Rice can be the next guy for Kansas City. Kelce's obviously. I think at the end of his career here, I really find it hard to believe he's going to have much more than like maybe another year left in him.
If you're moving on Kelce, are you doing it for a first straight up, even without the extra on there? Would you move him for like a mid first, or would you need that little extra?
Like a mid first, if you could guarantee it's a mid first, maybe.
Yeah.
Is this a mid first, or is this like the guy that's getting Kelce?
It's a playoff pick, so it's not the favorite, but it is a team in the playoffs. So we'll say somewhere from, I guess, maybe like 5 to 12. We do 8-9 playoffs in that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fear is that team getting Kelce, that kind of gives them a huge boost, and then they go win the league, and then you end up getting stuck with the 12th pick. I had a guy who was trying to trade me for Trevor Lawrence before the season started, and his 1 weak spot was quarterback. And so I was like, all he wanted to give me was a second round pick. Now it's not super flex. And I'm like, what are you going to give me the 24th pick for Trevor Lawrence? No, I don't care if it's not super flex or not. And I've got Justin Fields. That's not worth it. You need to give me something else or a better pick. He eventually moved it up to a first round pick. And I still was like, just don't see it happening, man. Like Trevor Lawrence is what, 23? He's gonna be around a while.
Super young. Yeah.
So
and he's starting to get it back together. Like he's starting to play better. Those touchdowns are starting to come. Yeah.
I was regretting it a little bit early on, and I was like, oh
yeah,
dude, he's like regressing huge. But yeah, I think he's too talented.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is like the exact type of trade I'm looking to make if I'm pivoting off Kelce. Like not only do you get that first rounder, but you get the guy that as of now is basically set up best to become Mahomes' new number one option after Kelce kind of does start to fade away in the next few years. So it's good trade for that side. I like that one pretty much all around. Last Kelce trade we got here is we got Kelce, DK Metcalf, and Geno Smith getting swapped out for Justin Jefferson, Deshaun Watson, and David Njoku, not David Nuke, as I typed on the sheet here.
I noticed that. I'm on the fence with this one. Because I think
this is one of the toughest trades that I put on there. I was like, I don't know which side I like here.
Because obviously, I don't like Watson. I don't really like trading for tight ends in Dynasty either. Like, I mean, you get in Kelce, that's fine. But clearly, the guy that traded back Njoku, massively upgraded their tight end position there. Getting rid of Jefferson is the one that's sort of like, I don't know if I get rid of the number one Dynasty asset right now. Arguably Bijan might be up there with him. But I think most people think in non-Superflex leagues, Justin Jefferson, Chase is up there. But Justin Jefferson, I think, just kind of even distances himself from Chase just slightly too, just from a consistency standpoint too. When he's healthy, I mean, the dude's just a monster. So I think for me, I want the Justin Jefferson side. It sets you up nicely for a long time. And I mean, Watson's going to be no worse than Geno Smith, even if he's not that great anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I'm taking the Jefferson side, and then I'm trying to flip Watson. Like the second there's like any positive news, like, oh, he's ahead of schedule in his recovery. Boom, trade block.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Right. So we're both taking the Jefferson side there. So man, it's interesting. Kelce is like, he's kind of a weird one. It seems like everything you like read from websites, like, oh, he's still like a multiple first player, but then you actually like get down to it in like paid leagues, and nobody's giving up that type of value for Kelce at this point.
Well, he's what, 35? He's old. I mean, how many more years does this guy have? So he's 34. Sorry, he just turned 34. But I mean, he's old. So from a dynasty standpoint, he loses value.
Unless you're getting into like
you want to push in all the chips now and trade a first round pick, go be it. You've probably set yourself back, a good year. Or you've set yourself back a little bit by trading away a first for Travis Kelce if you do not win.
Yeah, I'm with you there on that one. So speaking of like the opposite, the opposite of pushing in all the chips for our next section here, we are going to switch mindsets here. So this is construction time. We're getting ready to rebuild this roster. So the simple premise of this is I'm going to give you a list of players, the return they went for, and you're going to tell me if you're a rebuilding team, if you're taking that, or if you're going to hold out for a better return on this player. Make sense?
Sure.
Okay. First one we got here. You are selling Austin Eckler. You get back a 2024 first, Mike Williams, and Trey Lance. How do you like that one?
Well, nothing to do with Trey Lance. Mike Williams is meh, in my opinion. I just told you how I feel about him. The first is nice. Getting Eckler for a 2024 first is probably about right. I don't really know if you're going to be able to get much more than that, to be honest with you. It's the players maybe are okay. Trey Lance is probably, I think we're going to be talking about dropping Trey Lance in dynasty leagues even very, very soon. So yeah, I think it's okay. Eckler's getting up there, and he's still good. But he's also shown already this year that he's
slowing down,
lost a little bit. So
Yeah, I'm with you. If I can get a 2024 first for Eckler at this point, I'm smashing accept on that. Like you said, he's slowing down. There's like actually statistics to back this up. And like one of his breakaway runs last week, he only got up to like 13 miles an hour. Like the offensive tackle had like a quicker like start time than he did at that point. And so it's kind of like, is he getting older? Is that like a leftover effect from the ankle injury he had early in the season? But if you're rebuilding, you can still get a first, and especially in this next draft for Eckler, I'm slamming accept on that, even if it's just straight up. So I think we'll both take the picks there on that one.
Yep.
All right, next one here. You are selling Amon-Ra St. Brown and a 2025 third. You're getting back Jahan Dotson, a first in 25 and 26, and a third in 24. So basically, you're moving your third up from 25 to 24, and then it's Amon-Ra St. Brown for Dotson, and then a first in 25 and 26.
No. I'm keeping Amon-Ra. That dude,
yeah,
he's a beast, man. You build around him. He's young enough. You do it.
No hope for Dotson. It's kind of developing into that guy. I know preseason we both liked him as like kind of a deeper sleeper, and it just hasn't really worked out. Is there any hope left out for that, or is he kind of just a compliment?
I think he's fine. I just don't think he's gonna be, nowhere near Amon-Ra. Like nobody expects that. I mean, he's a wide receiver 3. Mm-hmm. And that's, he'll have weeks where he scores touchdowns and he'll be, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1, but overall his consistency is going to probably leave him in that wide receiver 3 range.
It doesn't change it at all if like that one of those first moves up to 24, if like we're talking like 24, 25 first, that's that enough at that point, or?
I mean, I'd say the only way I would be okay with this if that's got to be like an empty cupboard of a roster, and Amon-Ra is like the only shiny toy on the roster for me. But like, if you've got any hope of, if you've just got some other younger guys that you're kind of waiting on, or maybe you've got some injuries that have really been hurting you, I still think Amon-Ra, man, dude's only 24. This guy's a baller. I just think he's going to be so good, and you're going to want him on your team for that rebuild. Yeah. Like selling a young player for, let's be real, even first round picks are dart throws, man. We don't, how many times have you missed on a first round pick? I've missed
plenty. Yeah.
I mean, they're not guarantees. Amon-Ra right now is, I would consider a guarantee. I'm not selling a 24-year-old guaranteed receiver for a rebuild 2 years down the road. At 26, Amon-Ra still going to be good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll keep the Amon-Ra side. If I'm making a trade like this, like that, the Jahan Dotson piece, that needs to be a guy like a Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, Tank Dell, kind of one of those super high upside rookies with some picks. But yeah, Jahan Dotson just doesn't really do it for me.
No.
Yeah. All right, last one we got here in the rebuilding section here. We are selling DeAndre Hopkins, Alvin Kamara, and Jerry Jeudy. We are getting back a first in 2024 and 2026. So basically selling off some vets and Jerry Jeudy here, getting 2 firsts back. Is this enough for you to get the picks?
I wish the 2026 was a 2025, but I still think I pull the trigger and take the picks.
Yeah.
Hopkins is not quite cooked, but he's close.
He's
Kamara is, he started off hot this year, has started to slow down a little bit. He's not seeing 12 targets a game anymore. They're using Taysom a lot, which is we all hate it. Jerry Jeudy, he's unfortunately just never going to turn into what we all hoped.
Don't tell Dave Eddie that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll take the picks. That's a lot to give up, but I get it. You're giving up two older players and one guy who's just, I still think got a lot of hype, got a lot of name value helping to carry that. Exactly. So I'm okay with getting rid of Jeudy.
Yeah, I'm taking the pick sides pretty comfortably on this one. And sticking with the theme of selling for picks. This last section we got here, we are selling veteran running backs for picks, and it's kind of same general premise. Are you taking this or are you holding out for a little bit more? First one we got here is Derrick Henry straight up for a 2024 second that projects to be early, kind of like 13 to 16 range.
Man, how the mighty have fallen. He only went for a second. And I get it in super flex leagues. You know, running backs don't carry the value anymore. Sorry, what range of pick was it?
It'd be like early to mid second, like somewhere
Early
like
to
13 to 16, 17.
I'd be okay with that. Henry, I mean, he finally had a decent game this past week, but, you know, really it was just the touchdowns. You know, had they not gotten to the 2-yard line twice, you know, probably wouldn't have done a whole lot.
Another bad game.
They were using Tajay Spears a ton still in that game. So I'm okay with that, I think.
Yeah, I am too. Ideally, I'm trying to get like another small piece tacked on there, even if that's like another second down the road. But if this is like the best price you can get, like I'm okay moving off for that price. This next one here gets a little bit more tricky. And I actually had this exact question asked on Sunday Social yesterday. Tony Pollard, are you moving off him for a 2024 first? Same thing, kind of like looking mid to late. You're not getting a Caleb Williams type guy. You're looking end of first round.
Oh, Tony Pollard, 25.
Yeah, 26, I believe, if I'm remembering right.
26. Strangely enough, I think I'm okay with that.
I'm with you, actually, even as a Cowboys.
Pollard I think he worked better as the complementary guy. He was change of pace. He had a explosiveness. But as a bell cow, he's really struggled. You know, we haven't seen those big explosive plays from him. We all know the touchdowns have just been like, you know, he's kind of gotten unlucky, tackled within like the 3-yard line multiple times. You know, and we've seen like he's scored a couple of times, but like, I mean, still like 12 carries for 79 yards. That's pretty nice average. 12 or 13 for 79, 12 for 61, 15 for 55 the week before that. This, next year could be a whole different story with him, where Dak's not just slinging the ball as much as he is, but yeah, I think I'm okay getting a first for Pollard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you, actually. I don't think I would be able to give up a first in this next draft for Pollard, even as a Cowboys fan. I mean, even if that pick ends up like number 12, like you got a good shot of getting like a Keon Coleman or a Travion Henderson next year, who I feel like could be similar value players when we're looking at it a year from now. Pollard, like you mentioned, he's slowed down since he's kind of got moved into that featured role. Granted, he had a pretty traumatic leg break at the end of last year. I think we kind of like are kind of overlooking that a little bit. But that being said, the explosion's gone. Like it has not started to come back. Like the explosion that we saw before, we've seen on like 2 or 3 plays and flashes, unlike last year where it was every single time that dude touched the ball, you could take it to the house basically. So yeah, I think yeah, if you can get a first for Tony Pollard, and I think this is like a very realistic trade you could make to a contender this week at the deadline. Go find that team that's kind of on the verge fighting for that last playoff spot and be like, hey, give me that first next year. I'll get you Tony Pollard, help you get into the playoffs. I think that's a trade you could probably pull off if you're looking to rebuild fairly realistically. All right, last one of the day here. And this one's a little bit trickier. And this is kind of goes back to that, do you take the young player? Do you flip them for picks and hope you get better young players? So we got Kenneth Walker getting swapped out for a first in 24 and 26. I feel like the pro points for Walker is the fact that Charbonnet has not lit the world on fire these last 2 weeks when he's gotten the full job. Which a lot of people, I think, and myself included, I thought he would be better with more of the workload, and he just really hasn't been.
Well, to be fair, his matchup this week was pretty terrible. So, and that was his first real chance. So maybe better games are coming from him. How old is Walker? Like
young, 23, 24, something like that.
Yeah.
He may not even be that. He may be 22 actually.
He's
still
23.
23. Okay.
And, well, I mean, look. this one's tough. Have any idea where the 2024 first is?
Not really. Not like a Caleb Williams level pick now.
No. I think I'm leaning toward this keeping Walker, young guy. Seattle, I mean, they like to run the ball, man. You know, that's clear, and they lean on Walker in the red zone. That was help carrying his value early on. Yeah, I just think he's just going to be too involved in this offense for a few years to give up on him. Even for that, you know, I know those are nice picks, and you know, it's like, oh man, but what if? But again, it's what if. Like, you could be wrong, and you could go the opposite direction.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep Walker on this one. With the only exception to this would be is if I am just like absolute bottom of the barrel team. This is my only talent. I still have my own first round pick, so I got something in that top 3 where I'm gonna get the Williams, Harrison, or May. If I do that, I'm okay picking up another first that's a little bit later. Because then at that point, then you're pairing one of those 3 with, like we said, like a Keon Coleman, one of those type of guys. I'm okay making it in that spot. But if I'm like one of those where I'm just kind of like a normal bad team, like I'm just keeping Walker and rolling with it and just taking my first round pick next year and running it back with Walker there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, that's all I got for you today. I appreciate you coming on here. This was a lot of fun. What do we got Jamie saying here? Eckler might not be a Charger. Yeah. I mean, he looks like he could be better suited for like kind of a number 2 role at this point, honestly.
Yeah, as weird as that sounds, you know, it is one of those, like, you know, he could be kind of falling into that. You know, he's just an older back now, and it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm with you there on that one. All right, man. Well, that's all we got for today. Appreciate you coming on. This was, like you said, like all season in the making. We'll have to get you back on here again once we get into the offseason.
I got a trade that went down that I want to ask you about. This one's super interesting. So now these are not super flex.
Okay.
So keep that in mind. We only start 2 receivers, but we have 2 flex, 2 running backs though. So a team received Dawson Knox, Alec Pierce, Marvin Mims, a 2024 second, a 2025 first, and a 2025 second. The other team ended up getting Brandon Ayuk and Breece Hall. So pretty obvious what's going on there.
2 first, 2 second, and then kind of just some guys for Ayuk. And who was the other guy you said?
Breece Hall.
Ooh, I'll take that. I mean, I'll take the players on that one. That's like the first and second. It's always risky for any running back that you're giving it up for, like especially a guy like Breece Hall, whose situation's a little murky right now. But getting Brandon Ayuk thrown in there too for who were the players again? Like there was nobody even really
consequential, was there? Marvin Mims, Alec Pierce. Yeah, I mean, Mims maybe. But yeah,
I mean, you're trading basically a first and a second for Ayuk and a first and a second for Hall. I'd say in a vacuum that's fair, but I'll keep the players in this situation.
Yeah. So you know, just for not clarity, whatever it is, the team who traded away the players, the good players, is 10th in the league, and he's 3-8 on the year. He's really bad. He'll probably have the second or third pick coming up in this upcoming draft. Now, the team who traded for those players is now 5th place, could possibly move into 3rd place. I'm still not really sure it puts him over the hump though. So but he got 2 super young players.
Right. And
I'm like perfectly okay with that. You know, it's like, I'm actually shocked. And I know that team's rebuilding, but like, man, you don't give up a 22-year-old running back who is come back with an ACL injury and has been awesome. And Ayuk, who has been amazing. That one is a little bizarre to me. Now, I mean, the rest of that guy's team isn't horrible. I mean, he's got Josh Allen, Garrett Wilson, Christian Watson. He's got Kyle Pitts. Like, you're trading away Ayuk and Hall. Like, he's just, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's kind of one of those like normal bad teams. I feel like you just ride it out with, like, you don't tank it out. Like, you have some, like the pieces he's building around aren't 30-year-old receivers. Like, those are all fairly young dudes.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
mean, he's
that's
already
another
got a
one.
pretty good core of young guys. Like, just keep going with it, in my opinion. But he traded away 2 young guys for. I get it. He could turn 2 into 4 really good young players, but you could also turn 2 into really 4 crummy young players.
Right. Yeah, it's like one of those. If you throw it in a trade calculator, like it's probably fair, but like I'll take the sure things in this one. I'm a big IU guy. I mean, he was my most drafted player coming into the year. I think I had him in like 11 leagues. So I've been a big IU guy. Getting Breece Hall thrown on there is crazy. I mean, you bought low on Breece Hall, basically. You got him at his lowest probably point that he should have in value in the next couple of years, assuming they fix the quarterback spot next year.
Yeah, I mean, this was just a couple of weeks ago, actually.
Yeah, well done on his part. Yeah, whoever got the players, well done.
Yeah, so just figured I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, hey, what else you got going on every week for us? Where can we find you at?
Yeah, so obviously, fantasy6pack.net is where you can find me at F6P_Joe on Twitter. I write the usage trends article every week. It comes out on Tuesdays, awesome. So that'll be tomorrow. And then the Fantasy Six Pack Hour every Thursday on this YouTube and Facebook channel at 9:30-ish every Thursday.
Roughly around that time.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, if you guys haven't read my weekly recap, you can find that on the website or head over to the Fantasy Six Pack Twitter account. We got that tweeted out. That is free content that comes out every morning, kind of recaps every single game that went down prior to the Monday game. So you can kind of know if you're out of town traveling, you can kind of come back, read this article, have a general idea of what went down on that Sunday that you missed. So make sure you go check that out. Got my Dynasty ranks on the site. I'll have a new update on that tonight. And then, every Sunday morning I'm on the Sunday Social, and then Monday we'll be back here. Next week, we're going to be talking a little bit of Devy prospects. And then the week after that, we are doing a show dedicated for the people that got knocked out of the playoffs. That week 15, I feel like everybody and their dog is going to be doing shows based around, all right, here's what you got to do. You win the leagues this year. We're going to show some love to the teams that got knocked out of the playoffs. So you can kind of get a head start on rebuilding for next year. So the next couple of weeks, we got a lot of fun stuff coming up. If you're a rebuilding team, make sure you tune in. Like I said, we got prospect talk. Lots of good stuff coming up right there. Join,
become an All Access member. Just jump into the Discord, earn your money back with our DFS talk.
That's how you do it. Oh, man, DFS, man, our DFS guys are crazy good. Like they are. I need to start playing DFS and just copying what they say.
Keith Fleming, they're so good. I mean, I play very sparingly, and it seems like 9 times out of 10 that I play, I'm winning money because I just use their advice. It's like hands down winners. So it's pretty awesome.
They hit on everything, it seems like. But awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you everybody for tuning in and watching, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.